I feel like my chain has gotten louder. Is it my sprocket? Is it my chain? Or maybe I'm just losing it. Let's find out. I've done a lot of adjustments and it's in spec. Tightening the chain doesn't make it any quieter. I think my bounce is normal. It just sounds like it's noisy at my front sprocket, which I can't see without taking this apart. There are 3 short bolts that hold on the chain guards and 1 longer one that goes in the top rear. So the only way to take off the top chain guard is to remove the left suspension connection. You don't have to take off the rear wheel, but I'm changing the tire, and that'll be another video. So there's this plastic guard. I was actually missing some screws on my case, and the rearmost top and bottom screws hold this in place, and that's probably why it's a little damaged. For replacements, I've bought a 14-teethed Superior brand sprocket, which is old new stock. It's the same teeth as the original, but they are much pointier.
Pointy.
I also got a kit with a front sprocket that is more like the original, and also a rear sprocket and chain. If I wanted to do some sprocket ratio adjusting, I might get 13 teeth at the front to make it smaller and increase my torque at the expense of top speed, and maybe wear out my chain faster because it has to spin around a smaller circle, or make it bigger with 15 teeth to do the opposite. If you ride a bike, like a pedal bike, and shift it, there's usually a couple gears in the front that make a big difference when you switch between them, and a bunch in the back that are more nuanced. So if I wanted to increase my top speed with the rear, I would use a smaller 36 teeth one. If I wanted to increase torque, make it more like a dirt bike, I would add teeth to the rear sprocket, like 44 teeth, and that would be about the same change as adding or taking away 1 tooth at the front. And the original Honda 50 mods for off-roading were 72 teeth, which led to the trail that let you shift between 2 sprocket sizes. So this is the origin of the modern dirt bike. To take off the sprocket, I'm going to use a 10mm ratchet and put it into gear so it won't spin, and take off this retaining plate. So this is wonderfully convenient. The sprocket comes off like how you would pull a crank arm on a bike, but you don't need any special tools for it because the screws you took off the engine cover are the same size as the holes in the sprocket. So if you screw these longer screws into those holes, they'll push through, hit the engine, and slide the sprocket off the rod thing. So you're trying to keep it symmetrical so it slides off evenly, and I am really trying to not have to take the chain apart. I don't want to deal with that. I want to keep my chain together. I'm going to try the new chain because it's new and I have it. But before we put the chain back on, let's make sure young man is still keeping an eye on the corn. How's the corn? Is it doing good? That's nice. Sweet man, sweet corn. So this chain is not long enough, or I'm not trying hard enough.
I failed on my one promise.
But since this is a new sprocket, let's see how the old chain is on it. So yeah, I'm giving up on the chain.
I give up.
Don't give up.
I give up.
Don't give up.
I give up.
Don't give up.
Seriously, I give up.
Okay, so I didn't give up. This might be obvious to someone who hadn't forgotten that chain tension calibration is a thing. As the old chain stretches out, you push the rear wheel back to compensate. So for a new chain, you have to push it forward. So yes, Burns lives, and I did eventually put on the new chain. Also, if you wanted to change the rear sprocket, removing these nuts is how you would do it, which means you also have to take off the wheel, and there will be links to that video when it comes out. But since I didn't figure out how to get the new chain on during my first go at this, we are going back to the old chain. I want to make sure the master link, or whatever it's called, is not opened in the direction the chain is moving. And to get it on, pulling it forward as much as I can, and then rotating the sprocket onto the rod thing. So we'll see if it's true what they say, the pointier the sprocket the better.
And who are they, exactly?
So here's the old sprocket, how it sounded. And this is the new one. Does it sound quieter? Maybe it's quieter. By the way, it's very quiet without the chain. And here's the new sprocket with the new chain. These tests are kind of pointless because chain tension is all over the place. So let's do a slightly more practical rolling down the hill test. So I guess the final verdict is I am in fact losing it.
Now let's go back to that building thingy where our beds and TV is.
So basically, chains are gonna make noise. I think the improvements are there's less bounce in my chain, but I think my old chain still has a lot of miles on it. And there's no mileage on the chain, like, oh yeah, replace your chain every 8,000 miles. So in general, if it's kind of saggy and you can pull it away from the sprocket with your hands, yeah, it's time to replace. I cleaned the chain before I put it on, but now I'm gonna lube it. And in the next video, I will change the battery, and someday I will change that tire. Yeah, you'd think I'd change that tire next, but no. And don't forget to adjust your chain tension when you're done. You're aiming for the under part of the chain to be 0.4 to 0.8 inches from the top of the hole. I'm going for the slackier end of that. Loosen these two locking nuts and then righty-tighty the rear nuts to raise the chain up. It's really about making the axle straight as you move it backwards or forwards to get the chain high enough. But if you're trying to put on a chain and it's too tight, you want to loosen everything up, like extra loose so it goes on easy, then tighten it up.